Hello guys and welcome to the Marigold Standard, your weekly audio source of all things Dreamstar Fighting Marigold. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin. I'm joined as ever by my co-host, Mr. Matt Turner. Matt Turner, how the devil are you, good sir?
The devil is right, my friend, because we were having like a heat wave here in northeastern Pennsylvania. Considering the fast last week, it was like 1 or 2 degrees. Today it hit like 40. And how we normally do it in northeastern Pennsylvania, once it starts to get warm after a cold snap, everybody has their windows down, even though it's only about 9 degrees above freezing. But brother, I'm doing great. We had a really fun weekend. My parents came up for dinner. And as you know, from having a few beers with my dad at WrestleMania, my dad is a true WWE fan. Literally the point that he does not know of any other wrestling companies that exist. Because I remember the first time we were on Talk is Jericho, he listened to it and then he called me and he said, "Oh, Chris, he doesn't wrestle anymore. He just does the podcast." And I was like, "No, Dad, he wrestles for AEW." So over the summer, he was telling me about how the women in the WWE are killing it. They are way better than the men, especially that Io and KAIRI. And I was like, "Oh, Dad, does your youngest son have something special to tell you?" So he came over, we were having a beer, and I completely forgot of how much he enjoys the women's wrestling, especially the Joshi in WWE. So I was like, "Oh, Dad, I have something to watch you." Now, Rob Goodwin, me and you both get asked quite a bit from newer Stardom fans, what is the match? What is the one match to start somebody off that that's nobody watched Stardom? Where do you start them off? And there's 1,000 correct answers. I started my dad, Starlight Kid versus Izumi, High Speed Championship, February 2022, Cinderella Journey.
Yeah.
No, I know. Obviously, I know this is a match me and you have seen several times. So the matches, we're about halfway through the match, and my dad is just blown away by what he's seeing with one Starlight Kid and Izumi. And he goes, as Izumi's really working on Starlight Kid's arm, he goes, "You know what you don't see in WWE that much anymore? Matches that end in submissions, especially when they're working a certain body part, especially in women's matches." And I was like, "I know how this match ends." Numero uno, submission. My dad's like, "That's simple psychology. It makes sense. It's an easy story to tell." I said, "Dad, what'd you think about it?" He's like, it made sense. The high flying was great. Everything was terrific. It was like a beautiful, perfect match. And they hit each other hard. It's like, "Is there any other matches that you know from these Stardom girls where they hit each other really hard?" And I was like, well, sir. Now, my first reaction was go to Shiri versus Momo Watanabe from the 2021 5-star final, but I was like,
yeah,
let's go something a little more recent. So I showed him Sari versus Mayu Iwatani from All-Star Grand Queendom last year, and he was completely blown away. Literally the point where after the match was over, all the seconds came in with the cold spray and the ice packs, and he goes, "Do you think that's just for show, or do you think they really hurt each other? Because I wouldn't be shocked if it's half of column A and half from column B, because those girls really beat the crap out of each other." He goes, "The heavyweights in the WWE that weigh 300 pounds, they don't hit each other as hard as these two girls did." I was like, "Dad, welcome to Stardom." So
yeah, you've chosen a birth of fire with that heavy hitting match. Christ alive. But yeah, that I must admit that's it's a match I want to go back and watch. It's a match I haven't seen in a long time. The Sari versus Mayu Iwatani, maybe for an alternate commentary somewhere down the line. But yes, I'm glad your dad enjoyed that. I always enjoy the Starlight Kid and Izumi match. So I can't think of a single one I haven't enjoyed, but that one from Cinderella Journey and Nagaoka is up there as one of my absolute firm favorites. It does make me laugh, the weather in Pennsylvania. Like, what is happening over there? Because this time last week, you were physically snowed in.
Yeah, the joke is in northeastern Pennsylvania, you can get all 4 seasons in 6 weeks. So the snow is starting to melt, which usually means that in about 2 weeks we'll get another snowstorm. So that's just the way it goes, my man. Mother Nature, undefeated.
Absolutely.
Undefeated. But no, man, everything's good. Obviously, for those of you watching on our YouTube feed, Rob Goodwin's hair is looking tip-top. Magoo, my man, you're looking fantastic. I actually just got a haircut myself yesterday.
Looking good.
We're ready to rock and roll, my man. We're ready to rock and roll, talking about some great wrestling from our friends over at Dreamstar Fighting Marigold.
Indeed, indeed. And we're going to kick straight into it as well. We're going to talk about some news. And the first thing I want to do is shout out friend of the show, Plug Pedro, who we are big fans of Pedro, who is not only an absolute legend, but he's also the moderator of our Discord, which you can find the link to in the podcast description. But he's asked, y'all got any word on MarigoldMania week? No. No.
You know as much as us, buddy.
Yeah.
Is he going to be there? Is he going to be there, Rob? Is that why he's asking?
Plug, are you going to be there? I hope so. No, the reason I brought this up, he did put anything that's not going to get you sniped. We genuinely don't know anything. We have asked. We haven't heard anything yet. They're cutting it very fine, but saying that, so was Stardom. Because as we record this, it's the 28th of January, and even though both companies have at varying points confirmed that there will be a Vegas show, we are still waiting on venues, days, times, all of those things. And we talked a little bit about this on the Stardom cast about how visas are a huge, huge thing when Japanese wrestlers are coming over to the US. I don't know if that is an issue. However, I would have expected, especially from Marigold, who announced this, before November. It was like, was it Summer Destiny? They announced this July?
I still think it was like either summer or fall. So this was months and months in advance that they said that this show was going to happen. And I don't think there's been like a peep since. So, I mean, who knows? Who knows what may or may not have happened.
Mentioned it.
But it's really weird considering the fact that Stardom and Marigold are probably the two biggest Joshis. And Tokyo Joshi Pro and Marvelous, they've announced that they're doing shows with dates, times, when tickets go on. No talent announced just yet. Yeah, venues, the whole nine. So it's just like, just very odd. But regardless, we are going to be very, very busy. There have been rumors that the Stardom show is going to be Thursday. Again, that's just hearsay. And again, we don't know, but we know that Marvelous show, I think it's like 11 o'clock at night on Thursday, which Rob going, as you know, I go to bed very early. You have to keep in mind 11 o'clock. That is Vegas time. That's West Coast time. So I'm flying in, I believe, the day before. So technically that's 2 a.m. East Coast time for me. So it is going to be hopefully the gunshots of Takumi Iroha's kicks will keep me awake, because I'm hoping beyond hope that she is on that show, because she's probably the ace of that company, correct?
I know criminally little of Marvelous, but yes, I do believe so. She certainly was when she left Stardom. That was why she was taken, I believe, to be the sort of star of that promotion, I think in about 2015. But yeah, it is very strange that we haven't heard anything. Obviously, we are hoping beyond hope that everything is okay. I can't imagine it would go down terribly well if the Marigold show just sort of petered out and just didn't happen and nothing was said. I can't imagine that will happen. But it would be disappointing if they can't get people over, because I know there are a lot of people, myself and you, obviously, who are very much looking forward to seeing Marigold, who've bought tickets and, flights and stuff like that, hotels to, not only to go and see Marigold, obviously, but, he is hoping that everything is all right. And
Yeah. Plus, we want to have a beer with Sonny and just thank him for all the work he's done, past, present, the help he's done for us, past, present, and future. So that was one of the main reasons when they announced it. I was like, sweet, beer's on me, my friend. So again, that's like we always say in pro wrestling, brother, card subject to change. So we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. Plus, we've got to try and slam one with Utami at some point. We've seen her. We've seen what she did to KAIRI with that beer in her. So we'll see. We'll see. Keeping it with Marigold, then they have announced the next two cards coming up. The New Year Golden Garden runs into Shinjuku Face next on the 7th of February, night 7 of the tour. The full card is as follows. We've got Naoya Ishikawa versus Ryoko Sakimura, Ryo Saito and Riara versus Chiaki and Nagisa Nozaki, Utami Hayashishita in a singles match with Manami Yuki, Mirai versus Megaton. I can only begin to imagine how hard Mirai is going to hit Megaton if that lariat on Utami is anything to go by. Chan Yota making her Marigold debut, teaming with Mai Sakurai. They're going to be teaming against Mieko Aono and Naho Yamada. That's a match to keep your eye on. Nanae Takahashi and Seri Yamaoka versus Chika Goto and Natsumi Shozuki. That's another one to keep your eye on. And then the main event, the Marigold Superfly Championship match. Victoria Yuzuki, the champion, defending for a second time against Misa Matsui. So there's a couple of things, obviously, I want to talk to you about in regards to this Shinjuku Face card. Obviously, what are your thoughts on it? First and foremost, are you excited for this Superfly Championship match? What do you think is going to happen? But I just want to bring up Victoria Yuzuki as there was a little bit of, and again, a lot of this could have been lost in translation, but I believe there was quite a lot of negativity around Victoria Yuzuki, especially Japanese fans through Twitter. And again, this was hearsay. I didn't see anything myself, but it was relating to the mistakes she was making. And speaking from my own personal opinion, I have no issue with Victoria Yuzuki making mistakes. Point one, she is a year into her career. If you can't make mistakes now, when can you make mistakes? Secondly, the ambition that she shows to try these brand new things takes a lot of confidence, a lot of confidence. And I think we should not be trying to cut out the confidence from under someone who is still very, very young. Bear that in mind as well. And also, you know, it's all very well saying she's making mistakes. The whole thing with house shows, if you will, you know, is where you try brand new things. These Wrestle Universe shows are effectively tour shows. So why not try new things? Yeah, sometimes they don't come off. Absolutely. You know, the 3 moonsaults didn't quite come off at first stream. The idea was incredible. And you know that 9 times out of 10, she has nailed that in practice. And sometimes it's wrestling. Stuff happens. What I don't think is very fair is the criticism of Yuzuki. Yes, she does make mistakes. And you know what? I can see that, absolutely. But I feel like it should be coming from a nurturing point of view as opposed to a criticism point of view. Because again, it's not like Victoria Yuzuki is an experienced in-ring competitor with 6 years worth of hardened in-ring experience. You know, you consider she's 1 year into her career, and actually you look at her and go, Jesus Christ, she's a lot further ahead of where she should be.
Rob, was this the criticism I saw online where Marigold had to put out a press release? Is this what this was relating to? Where they had like block accounts or something like that? I saw something like that this morning, and because you know me, I stay away from anything negative, not just on social media, but life in general. So, yeah. But
I have no idea. I don't know if they've blocked accounts because of it.
Is it? But this, you're saying a lot of this is coming from, because I had no idea what this even. I was reading a little bit something last night before I went to bed, and then I woke up this morning when I was getting ready for the gym. I saw that Marigold put a press release out that I didn't read all through it again, because even though it's Marigold, and maybe I should have because we cover it, it's something negative, and I try to steer away from that as much as possible. But I think that now that you're mentioning it, that maybe this is what it was regarding. But kind of just to go on what you were saying. Doesn't matter if she's a year in, 10 years in, 15 years in. She's a human being. And we all make mistakes every day. Like, and again, I say that I probably said this on this podcast and the Stardom cast a million times, and I'll say it a million again. To quote the late great Roddy Piper, anybody that answers a bell, I got the ultimate respect for. These men and women in professional wrestling are putting their lives on the line for our entertainment. And because somebody's messing something up or not messing something up, like, people are going to go online and be an armchair quarterback. And I'm willing to bet 99% of these people that are, you know, being so critical have never stepped foot in a pro wrestling ring or have never even finished their training before. So, like, be better, people. Be better. Victoria Yuzuki is a phenomenal talent. Every wrestler in Marigold is a phenomenal talent. But the best wrestlers in the world make mistakes. The best athletes in the world make mistakes. You know, we're coming up. We're just a few weeks away from the Super Bowl, and we're seeing the best of the best players in the NFL in these playoffs, and they make mistakes. It happens. We're only human. So the fact that there's negativity on this is just something, again, I knew very little about this because I try to just steer away from that. I try to just steer away from that. But yeah, to echo your sentiments, Victoria Yuzuki's a phenomenal wrestler. And what you were just talking about a minute or two ago about her and Misa Matsui, probably the main event of that show coming up, their chemistry that they've had in some of these tag matches that we're going to talk about is second to none. And I'm super excited to watch it, and I'm super excited to review it with you because it has the makings to be the best match in the less than a year history of the super flyweight division, because those two are absolutely crushing it. And Victoria Yuzuki had a phenomenal match on the Sariism show as well with a wrestler I've never seen or heard of before.
Yeah, she really did.
So Victoria Yuzuki's a phenomenal talent, folks. Again, all these wrestlers, they're in there. They're busting their butts to be the best they can be, to give us the best entertainment that they can. So if something doesn't go 100%, leave them alone. If you're going to message them about something on social media, just be encouraging. Because again, I mean, those people that are going online messaging athletes, whether it's wrestling, soccer, football, baseball, are you perfect? Probably not. That old saying, don't throw stones at a glass house. You know what I mean? So it's like, be better people. Again, just be encouraging. Just be encouraging. There's no need to armchair quarterback, because I got a feeling that they're putting a lot more effort in than those said people that are supposedly know everything.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because, of course, everyone is entitled to an opinion, and a discussion certainly. But going onto an actual wrestler's social media and calling them out for mistakes is just, why? What a waste of your time. Like, why? It's something that I've never understood, is people going out of their way to upset other people. Miyu Amasaki did an interview last week, I think, where she said the amount of messages she's had about her moveset and how she's looking to injure people with all the DDTs she does, the fact that people just outright calling her ugly. And it's like, why? What does that possibly achieve? Again, fine, you have an opinion, fine. You do not need then to plaster that opinion all over their social medias so that they can see it. That's completely unacceptable, and that's so demoralizing. Just have a think about how that affects a wrestler. Again, I am not telling you not to have an opinion. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is, have a think about what you are saying to these wrestlers, to these people who are putting their bodies on the line, show in, show out, okay? Because as Matt can attest, it is not ballet. It is not easy. And you know what? If Victoria Yuzuki makes a mistake in the ring, do you know who the first person to know has made a mistake? Victoria Yuzuki. Do you know what she doesn't need? It then compounded by people who've never been in the ring before. So, again,
folks, we have 24 hours in a day. Our time is very, very limited. Time goes by in the blink of an eye. Don't waste your time giving somebody a hard time on a sport that they're pouring their heart into. Again, be encouraging. The example I will use is, I do not like country music. You don't see me going on the social media of, I don't even know who's in country music. Willie Nelson. I don't know. Willie Nelson, and saying, I like his Christmas song. But anyway, Willie Nelson, country music's terrible. Slayer for life, metal, Ozzy, metal. No, I just, whatever, go. Do your thing. Do your thing.
If you don't like Victoria Yuzuki as a wrestler, don't watch Victoria Yuzuki.
Yeah, there it is. I can't stand the people that hate watch AEW. Drives me crazy. I'm like, you do realize that you just gave them a rating, right? And now you're talking about them, and you're hashtagging AEW. You're actually helping them out by saying certain things. But yeah, if you don't like Victoria Yuzuki, or you don't like Marigold, or you don't like Stardom, or you don't like country music, if you don't like rom-coms, if you don't like Hot Frosty, don't watch it. That's it. I don't know where I pull that from.
Oh my God. Are we not done with Hot Frosty?
Never.
Do you know who else made mistakes in the first year of her career? Mayu Iwatani. So I'll just leave that out there because she turned out all right. So yeah, I'm just looking at the press release that you were mentioning. Obviously, it's translated from Japanese, so the translation's not great. I don't know whether it is in relation to the stuff about Victoria Yuzuki. It just says we've been able to confirm slander, rumor spreading, and nuisance behavior beyond moderation on group accounts and affiliated wrestler accounts. If we are able to confirm the above posting, we will take action such as blocking the affected account or requesting an account freeze from the service provider. In addition, we will consult with lawyers and related organizations, and if we determine the content of the remarks constitutes threats, defamation, obstruction of business, etc., we will consider taking strict measures and in some case legal measures. Again, this is translated directly from Japanese, and Lord knows that Google Translate is not the most reliable of translation sources, but yeah, it could be that. It could be any number of things, especially that last bit, which sounds a little bit more serious than just, the stuff that we have talked about. But again, just Matt's perfectly right. We've got a finite amount of hours in a day. Don't spend it being negative about people. Again, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but social media really, really can be the worst when it comes to stuff like that. Anyway, positives, let's have a look again at those cards, because that card, Victoria Yuzuki versus Misa Matsui, I'm really intrigued by this. And we talked a little bit about this before, because Victoria Yuzuki, this is her second title defense. 20 years old, sort of the future of this company. I think we can all agree. Misa Matsui, this will be her third attempt at the Superfly Championship. Already, the championship is less than a year old. If she loses again for the third time, where does she go from there? Now, obviously, we've seen Victoria Yuzuki have time limit draws with this belt against Natsumi Shozuki. So we know that it's not out of the realms of possibility that this could go to a time limit draw. And I'm not going to lie, I wouldn't hate that, because 15 minutes of Yuzuki and Misa Matsui, fine by me. Sure. I do wonder how much injuries and things like that have accelerated plans. Obviously, Hummingbird, the division is light already and not just in weight.
So funny. Look at you.
Honestly, I honestly amaze myself how funny I am at times. There are people who've turned off legitimately after that as well. If they hadn't turned off after his grandstanding about Victoria Yuzuki, they've definitely turned off after that pun. But yeah, so I can see where they're going. I can see the people who've said, aren't we doing the Misa Matsui match a bit early? Because I sort of agree with that. But also, who else do you put in that position? Do you run back Natsumi Shozuki versus Victoria Yuzuki already? Who else fits in that division at this point? I mean, Naho Yamada potentially. I'm just looking at the card now. Riara potentially. I mean, Ria Sato. Again, Ria Sato's improved hugely. I don't think she's quite ready for that title scene as of yet. Ryoko Sakamura's not ready. Now Ishikawa, I don't know if she is the right sort of style of wrestler. So ultimately, you have only really got Misa Matsui, and that's sort of an issue inherently, I suppose, with the division as a whole, because without Kazuna Tanaka, who's out injured, you can also throw Komomo Minami in there. I know Komomo Minami is extremely inexperienced, but she still qualifies as that sort of weight. Hummingbird now out injured as well. You are running quickly out of competitors for this belt. So I can see why they have gone with the Misa Matsui match. And to be honest, I can see it going to a time limit draw because of what we said earlier about Misa Matsui.
Yeah, you made a lot of good points, and I didn't realize Naho Yamada. You was like, I'll just give her all the belts. We love us some Naho Yamada.
Absolutely.
And we will be talking about the return of the singing Naho Yamada on this podcast just a little bit. So again, folks, if you stayed through the bad jokes, there will be plenty more bad jokes. It just happens. It just happens. We will get into the Naho Yamada talk because she's fantastic. But
yes,
yeah, I see your point, Rob. And obviously, like, where do you go? Does Misa Matsui drop another one, or do we hot potato this belt from Victoria Yuzuki to Misa Matsui, or does it do a time limit draw? You take a step back, and it's like, they're all three right scenarios. Like, I wouldn't be upset if it's the TLD because, yeah, 15 minutes of these two, absolutely. Victoria Yuzuki is phenomenal, and I like to see her have a long run with this championship. However, Misa Matsui is perfect for this division. So really, you can slice it any one of three ways. And if Misa Matsui does lose, a lot of the Misa Matsui fans, which obviously mean you are, would say, well, now she's lost another one. Got to keep in mind, Rasa Yogawa did book one Starlight Kid to lose 6, 7 times.
I don't know. Actually,
Seven
now you've
time
said that.
Seven time was a seven. Seven
Yeah.
time was the charm for her to win the high speed championship. And obviously Hazuki, we're not there yet, folks. I'm putting out there. Hazuki has lost 6 Wonder of Stardom championships, and we're feeling it that she'll get it this year. So, folks, it's all about building yourself back up after you get knocked down, and whether that happens 1 or 2 times. What a great story it would be for Misa Matsui to win this on her 4th or 5th try. Just like I just kept coming after, I kept coming closer and closer and closer. So that's a story they can go to. Regardless, the match is going to be great because those two have fantastic chemistry, and it's going to be a really great way to start off with this championship belt. Could mean to Victoria Yuzuki here in 2025.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be opposed to Misa Matsui winning. Not because I don't like Victoria Yuzuki, not because I don't think she'd make a good champion, but because Misa Matsui feels like the jewel in the crown in terms of this division. It felt like it was her story to dethrone Natsumi Shozuki. But Victoria Yuzuki and Natsumi Shozuki, that was a good story as well. I think Misa Matsui is the heir apparent. Whether that happens here or whether they're waiting for Kazuna Tanaka to come back, Kazuna Tanaka to maybe take it off Yuzuki, and then run Misa Matsui versus Kazuna Tanaka, I don't know. It's a long-winded way of doing it. Again, I don't know. I do think injuries have possibly curtailed the plan there. But either way, it's going to be a great, great match, and I'm very excited by that. Very excited for the Marigold debut of Chan Yota. I thought she was really good in the admittedly meager amount of times I've seen her. It was mainly on New Blood shows, though she is taking part in a singles match with Nanae Takahashi on the 6th of February for PPP Tokyo. So that's going to be really good as well. But I'm looking forward to that. That match is going to be really good. Chan Yota, Mai Sakurai versus Miko Aono and Naho Yamada. That's going to be great. I can't see a weak link in that match. Obviously, Naho Yamada is 1,000% taking the pin in that match, or the submission, because it might well be the STF. But I still think that's going to be really good. I'm intrigued by Megaton, and that I know is not what you thought I was going to say. She's so over with the crowd.
You're right.
She's so over with the live crowd. And I know, obviously, she's not going to be a red belt champion. We know that.
You're right again. 2 in a row, buddy.
There we go. Honestly, journalism. We know that she's not the best in-ring worker. She's not going to pull a 5-star match out of herself. But as a character, the crowd love her. Like when she was doing the ring announcing for the Tank versus Bozilla Loser Leaves Japan match, crowd were eating it up. The crowd were really, really into it. That main event from the Yokohama Radiant Hall, the crowd loved her. The crowd ate it up. And again, at Korakuen, Utami was getting booed because people were into Megaton. So it's an interesting one because she's going to get burned through in about 5 minutes by Mirai. And if she hits Megaton with the same lariat she absolutely decapitated Utami with on that Shin-Kiba show, then we could be looking at curtains. But she's an interesting part of this roster. And Ross Yogawa did an interview about Megaton. And even he said, she's so different to what we would have on this roster, but it does prove that anyone can be a wrestler, anyone can be entertaining, anyone can be in that spotlight and completely make it their own. And fair play to Megaton. She came out looking like Beetlejuice in her pajamas with her spiked hair and a weird Gengar makeup, and she got over. Fair play to her.
I just want to reiterate, Rob means Michael Keaton Beetlejuice, not Beetlejuice from the Howard Stern show. That's exactly what it means. Yes, that's.
Thank Thank you.
My brain goes to my spirit animal one, Lester Green, Beetlejuice from the Howard Stern show. But anywho, you're right. She knows how to get over. That's obviously that really not my cup of tea, but at the same time, crowd reaction. She understands who she is and needs to be in the ring to elicit those reactions. And she's fitting in well what she needs to do for her part in Marigold. Like, is she on the level of an Utami or Mirai or Bozilla? No, but she doesn't need to be. She is, and you made mention this, I think, last week, and you said it, and it was like, I think Rob actually hit the nail on the head here. She is almost like the answer to Stardom, Spooky, and Death, which, again, if you listen to the Stardom cast, that's Rob's low-key favorite wrestler in all of Stardom. So it's like, you kind of need that comedy act to kind of mix in with your hard hitters of your Mai Sakurai's, your Utamis, your Mirai's, your Meiko Anos, your great wrestlers like Misa Matsui and so on and so forth. So again, she's not my cup of tea. I was kind of scratching my head why Utami, her first red belt showing in Cork and Hall was against Megaton, but at the same time, it got a reaction from the crowd. So, so again, she's playing, and Rossi's what he said was exactly right. She's so much different than what we have here, but she knows how to get her character over and get the most out of her matches and segments to get the crowd happy. Because at the end of the day, that's what you want. You want to elicit that reaction from the crowd to make whether they're booing you or booing your opponent, you want them to make noise. You want them having a good time because you want them coming back, spending their hard-earned money, to see you, and so this way you're entertaining. Whether you're entertaining in a match, again, like an Utami, like a Meiko Ano, or you're entertaining in your character work like Megaton is. So you got to give her credit.
Absolutely. Let's move on then to the Chunichi Hall show. So Marigold's return to the venue where Utami defeated Tank in her first Marigold World Championship match. That is going to be on, I believe, the 11th of February. Pardon me, and that card is as follows. Natsumi Shozuki and Naho Yamada versus Minami Yuki and Ryoko Sakimura. Now Ishikawa versus Riara in a singles match. Excited for that. I'm a big fan of Riara. I thought she did really, really well in the two matches that we're going to be talking about. Misa Matsui versus Ria Sato. Mirai and Chika Goto versus Mai Sakurai and Meiko Ano. Big elevation for Go Chika over the last couple of weeks. In the absence of Koki Amare, we're seeing an elevation of Chika Goto. And I like the fact, basically, that Marigold are going, right, okay, Koki Amare's out, apparently till May, because she's got John Cena's healing powers, apparently, fingers crossed. But, right, let's see what you can do. Go there, let's see what you can do. 15-minute matches, let's see what you can do. And to be fair, they asked her to sink or swim. I think she swam. And she swam very, very well. This new attitude as well that she's got, really good.
New finisher as well. The new finisher as well. She's knowing how to work it. Like the first couple of times, it was like, okay, it's got potential, but understanding how to do it, where to do it, and when to put it in, whether to tease it and when to build it. She's understanding the psychology of that new finisher partner. But yeah, I'm with you. And I'm a huge fan of Go Chika. And I've said that really since I think the second or third Marigold show. That was I'm a big fan of her. But you're absolutely right. She is absolutely swimming. Again, we made mention a few weeks ago that obviously that Koki Amare match at the beginning of the year was going to be the biggest match of her young career. Obviously, accidents happen. She's just like, what? Dust it off. Can't change it. It happened. Let's move on and get better. And she's absolutely crushing. Yeah, she's definitely one of the many highlights on these two shows we're going to review in a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. That wrist clutch Blue Thunder Bomb looks really good. She's executed it really well. Shades of Nanae Takahashi, and we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later on. Speaking of Nanae, she's going to be teaming with Seri Yamaoka against Bozilla and Megaton. So Megaton might be eating that wrist clutch Blue Thunder Bomb from Nanae. And then in what is currently listed as your main event, but might not be on the night, Utami Hayashishita and Victoria Yuzuki versus the Dark Wolf Army, Chiaki and Nagisa Nozaki. So two solid shows. One title match. There's a couple of real sleepers on this last show, this Chunichi Hall show. Now Ishikawa versus Riara. promises to be very good. We've been huge advocates of the improvements in Ria Sato. So Misa Matsui and Ria Sato could be really, really good. I'm excited by Mirai and Chika Goto versus Mai Sakurai and Meiko Aono. That's going to be really good. And that main event, Utami and Victoria Yuzuki versus Chiaki and Nagisa Nozaki. We saw Nagisa Nozaki and Utami just lay into each other. So I'm really excited to see a repeat of that, Matt.
Yeah, not only that, but obviously Utami and Yuzuki, I believe, are going for the tag titles, I think, at the next Cork. And so this would be a good way to build them up and showcase them. And Utami and Yuzuki, they have really good chemistry, even going back to when Yuzuki's first handful of matches in Stardom, that they worked really well as a team or on opposite ends. So I like the teaming of Yuzuki and Utami while Kazuna Tanaka's out.
Moving on then, just a bit of Stardom news before we head headlong into our two Marigold reviews. First thing is that unfortunately Sayurita is on the shelf. There was a notification today on Stardom social media channels that said that she will be missing the Korakuen Hall show on Sunday, the February the 2nd, Supreme Fight in Korakuen Hall. No details as to why or what she has injured, or indeed how long that she will be out. However, as you pointed out when we were discussing this before we went on air, Matt, she was packing quite a lot of strapping on that right hand. So I do wonder if it is something to do with that, because she left the ring okay. So fingers crossed it's not anything too serious, and we see Sayurita back in the ring as soon as possible, because as we were also saying, obviously Path of Thunder, great name, in Utsunomiya at the end of February. It's in Hanan's home prefecture. We obviously want a big win Gory tile defense there, a big win Gory win. Obviously, fingers crossed that Sayurita is going to be able to make that back.
Yeah, again, hopefully they didn't discuss, like as you just said, what the injury is, but it looks like her hand. So if it's just her hand, you don't want to be your neck, your back, your knee, anything like that. The hand, you might be able to heal, a little bit faster, depending on what the injury is. But I guess that's the price you pay when you're chopping 1,000. You're doing 1,000 chops a match, my friend. So I always say you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. But yeah, it did seem like Saeed was in good spirits, though, at the pictures that were on social media at the awards ceremony. So, and obviously that's something we'll cover in depth on this week's Stardom Cast. But yeah, obviously Saida has been one of our favorite wrestlers in the company for the last few years, and she's on the run of her life. Her and Hanan obviously winning not only the Goddess of Stardom Tag League, but then the Tag Team Championships, that fantastic match at Dream Queendom. So hopefully she returns sooner than later. And yes, there is that show coming up in about a month's time in Hanan, Rina, and Hina's hometown. Would love to see a Wingori defense if Saida is fit. And Rob, real quick, if Saida is fit, what would the V1 that you'd like to see in that building at Path of Thunder? Who'd you like to see them defend the titles against? Who do you think would be a really solid V1 as we're into all these V1s coming up for Stardom?
I don't think it should be V1, but the immediate one is obviously FWC.
I agree. It should be V1. It should be V8.
We know that obviously Crazy Star have won the right to challenge for these belts through the Unit League. Maybe it's them. Maybe it's Crazy Star versus Wingori. I mean, I can't think of a single Stardom fan that would go, no, I don't want to see that. It will be a tremendous match, and potentially furthering this story that, Suzu Suzuki might potentially be the only person in Neo Genesis without a belt by the end of next weekend. So, that's a story that you can go for as well. Plus, it'd just be a really, really good match, cementing Wingori, who won the best tag team at the Stardom Awards show, really cement that reign. Because I've got a feeling, like, you think about the people that they could have really, really, really good matches with, the likes of an FWC, a Peach Rock, even people like BMI 2000. I think they would have a really good match with Wingori. There's all sorts of teams that you can put out there. Path of Thunder, which I have just mentioned, Stardom did announce on the 25th that the Path of Thunder coming to the Utsunomiya Light Cube in Toshigi on the 24th of February. And we do have a first match confirmed for that. Rina officially challenging Starlight Kid for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. I don't see Rina winning, but in the main event, in her hometown, what a coup for her. And you know what? She fully deserves this. It doesn't feel like she's been thrown in as almost a token gesture in her hometown. It actually feels very much like you've earned this. You've proven yourself again and again. You beat Soriano in a very good match. Here's your sort of opportunity now, your first opportunity at that white belt. Though it does make me laugh that she's had a white belt shot before Azumi.
He's kind of weird, isn't it? But yeah, you would be forgiven if some of these mid-card wrestlers get lost in the shuffle of the main event scene that is Stardom with Tam and Poi and Mo Watanabe, Sai Kamatani, Soriano, Mayu Iwatani, and the list goes on and on and on and on. But Arena's been doing a great job. Her future Stardom Championship run was phenomenal, especially towards the end. Those last few matches with her sister Hina and that match with Miyu Amasaki, I believe it was in Nagoya, was one of, if not the best future of Stardom match, maybe in the history of that championship. I think the only one that may even come close off the top of my head would be that 15-minute TLD with Tomoka Inaba and Hanan back in,
was a really good match,
2022. And then she goes as part of Devil Princess. Her and Azusa Inaba have a phenomenal tournament in the Goddess of Stardom tournament. And then I just watched it today. Her match with Soriano was phenomenal, was tremendous, and really what a great way to kick her up. So she is on the run of her life. This is the best chance to give her a title shot, and it's in her hometown in the main event. Starlight Kid is a big star coming off one of the best Wonder of Stardom Championship matches of all time with Natsupoi at the Dream Queendom. So, and it's going to sell a ton of tickets because the last time they ran this venue, they had Hina, Hanan, and Rina team up. And I believe it sold out the building. It was pretty packed. So I would be shocked if this isn't a sellout or close to it, considering the fact that, again, Starlight Kid, big star on top with the second biggest belt in Stardom, and you have Rina, the hometown girl. You're not just thrusting her into a title shot saying, hey, let's just give her a title shot. Let's knock out Starlight Kid's V1, and the hometown kid is going to be, help us sell tickets. It's like, no, she's properly been built up the proper way, not only from the booking, but her wrestling aspect as well these last 6-7 months. So I'm excited for her. Again, we just talked about how it's been sink or swim with Chika Goto. It's going to be sink or swim with Rina in the main event because, again, the lauded history of great pro wrestling matches that are for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. And I know there's nothing in this life as a guarantee, but I'm 99.3% sure that Rina is going to absolutely smash. Everybody says 99.9. It got to be a little bit different, partner. That Rina is absolutely going to smash this out of the park. And Starlight Kid is going to do everything in her power to make sure that Rina belongs in the main event because they were part of Young Oedo Tai. So there's some history there as well. So, yeah, really looking forward to that. And it's crazy how in Stardom, that, and again, obviously we'll talk about this more in depth in the Stardom cast this week, we have a red belt match, white belt match, not on pay-per-view. It's just your Stardom World subscription, which I think is like $6 American. So it's just, it's a great way for them to get subscriptions up because when's the last time we saw these championships defended that you didn't have to pay for on a pay-per-view? So especially the way they've been built up. They're not just throwaways to get the V1s in. So again, you got to give a lot of credit to Stardom because we're getting big-time championship matches on Stardom World for just really pennies on the day.
With that being said, then we'll talk about the Korakuen Hall full card on the Stardom cast. I want to delve straight into our show review, starting with the show on the 25th, Saturday, the 25th of January in Yokohama Radiant Hall. It's the first time Marigold have run this venue, but there's no attendance data available. However, you can sort of do some estimations. Noah, who achieved 256 people on their 13th of January show, and Ice Ribbon, who drew 155 on their 4th of January show, are the only promotions to run the venue and actually announce their attendances thus far this year. An educated guess would put Marigold's number somewhere in the middle of those two numbers. I'd argue maybe a touch closer to the Noah number than the Ice Ribbon number, but no more than that. Again, it was difficult to actually get a good idea of the attendance because the hard cam was so tight to the ring. But that being said, no attendance data as of yet. In terms of the action, let's go through the results. Singles action, Riara defeated Ryoko Satomura with the RKO in 7 minutes and 3 seconds. In a tag team match, Naoya Ishikawa and Yuki Mashiro defeated Naho Yamada and Ryo Saito, with Naoya Ishikawa pinning Ryo Saito with the Blade Runner in 6 minutes and 20 seconds. In a singles match, Tank defeated Minami Yuki with a spear ahead of her big loser leaves town match against Bozilla the following night with a spear in 5 minutes and 3 seconds. Tag team match, Chika Goto and Natsumi Shozuki defeated the Dark Wolf Army, Chiaki and Nagisa Nozaki. Chika Goto pinning Chiaki with the wrist clutch Blue Thunder Bomb in 13 minutes and 58 seconds. Tag team action then, Meiko and Seri Yamaoka versus Utami Hayashishita and Victoria Yuzuki. That ended in a 15-minute time limit draw. In your semi-main event singles match, Nanae Takahashi defeated Misa Matsui with the Nanaraka in 15 minutes and 5 seconds. And then in your main event tag team action, Mirai and Mai Sakurai defeated Bozilla and Megaton. Mai Sakurai submitting the Megaton with the STF in 12 minutes and 35 seconds. Matt Turner, let's start with Riara and Ryoko Satomura, because we talked a lot last week about the progress that Ryoko Satomura had, especially because she was having singles matches, owning the card, and I think this was possibly her best one yet. I thought her and Riara had really, really, really good chemistry here.
Yeah, I agree with you. And what does that tell you? She's just progressing. She's getting better each and every outing. She's getting reps in the openers in either tag matches or singles matches. Again, I think that, maybe after another month or two, they need to be putting her in tag matches with the Mirais, the Mai Sakurais, the Nanaes. That's, how they're going to elevate her here. But this was a really good one, considering the fact that we've only seen a little bit of Riara. And again, Ryoko Satomura's only been wrestling, only had a handful of matches. This was a solid outing, and these two really did a great job telling their story, a good way to get this crowd going. So solid enough stuff. Again, Riara, as you mentioned before, I'm really impressed with her. She's doing a great job filling in this roster while so many wrestlers are injured. And hopefully when they're back at full strength, I would love to see her part of this roster on a full-time basis, because I think she's fantastic. And she's got a gimmick that is very enduring with the crowd, and it is solid in the ring. I have this at 3.25 stars.
Yeah, I had it at 3 stars. The thing is with Riara, she's come at a really good time because of all the injuries to especially sort of your undercard talent. She's really been a blessing because she's really solid in ring. Her character is, as you mentioned, really good, but it's not overbearing. It's not the entire essence of her as a wrestler. She is very, very good as a wrestler in her own right. So I'm completely with you. I really hope that she is a fixture of these Marigold shows, and it's not just a case of her filling in for people who are out injured. I'd love to see her mix it up with the likes of Naoya Ishikawa, having matches with a Mirai. I think it'd be really, really good. And absolutely about Ryoko Satomura, that next step is mixing it up with your upper card talent in those multi-win. We've seen Minami Yuki do it a number of times, and she's only benefited from being in those matches, even if she's the one being rolled over by the likes of Bozilla or the likes of Nanae Takahashi. It's still benefiting her to be in the ring with that level of talent. So maybe that is the next step for Ryoko. Moving on then to tag team action, Yuki Mashiro and Naoya Ishikawa, Ryo Saito and Naho Yamada. Obviously, the biggest thing to talk about here is the return of the singing, because hell yes, Naho Yamada is the best thing just ever, not even in Marigold, just ever. But the story was very much Naoya Ishikawa and Yuki Mashiro, who have teamed together before, but this is the first time in over 2 years that they've teamed together. And I think it's fair to say, Matt, that they weren't on the same page from almost the word go.
From before the bell rang and after the bell rang, with some infighting in between. So it's like, again, this isn't a red belt program. It's not a white belt program. It's not a tag team program. But it's like we're giving wrestlers something to do here, not just, hey, just put them in a match and see what happens. So like we're creating stories. So clearly this is a somewhere where they're going with Nao Ishikawa, who we're obviously big fans of, and obviously Yuki Mashiro I've only seen a little bit of, but I was really impressed with what I've seen, especially in their match with Victoria Yuzuki that we talked about last week. So again, really interesting and really a good way to pan out your card and your stories. And then obviously, again, Rhea Sato ever improving just each and every outing. I so look forward to her matches and Naho Yamada. And again, I'm looking at this graphic, and if you're on YouTube watching it with us, they're doing the same pose. So why not have them become a tag team? Naho Yamada and Rhea Sato, they got the pose down. So there you go. There you go. But I will, again, for they worked really well together as a team, and they're getting consistently better, and they know how to work their characters and get them over with the crowd. So again, if they don't have anything for, as far as long-term stories with Rhea Sato and Naho Yamada, let's put them as a tag team together, because I thought they were really good. They were really good. Yeah, ultimately though, this is all about Nao Ishikawa and Yuki. Clearly they're going somewhere, and I'm really interested to see to where they're going. I thought this was a really good story and a really solid outing of a match. I had it at 3.5 stars.
I wouldn't be opposed to a singles match between these two being match 2 or match 3 on Korakuen at all, because I think they do really, really well there. Now Ishikawa was massively over. We've seen Yuki Mashiro is brilliant in ring. Why not just give them 8, 9, 10 minutes at Korakuen? Especially as we know that there's only going to be, a potential of 2 title matches maximum on that show now. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a moment and your thoughts about that. Moving on, then we move to Tank destroying Minami Yuki, let's be perfectly honest, in a shade over 5 minutes. And this was literally just to prep her for the following night, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a squash. I didn't rate it, for obvious reasons. But you're absolutely right. You want to make her look like a killer going into that loser leaves Marigold or Japan match or whatever. So, and poor Yuki Minami, she was the lamb led to slaughter to quote, I guess, Gorilla Monsoon here. So that's all it was, and she did her job very well, making Tank look like a tank.
Love it. Love it, mate. Excellent. Moving on then, Chika Goto and Natsumi Shizuki versus the Dark Wolf Army. We've already mentioned a lot about Chika Goto and how she's debuting the new finish. Got a little bit of a new attitude. You can tell as they spoke about Stu and Sonny on the Korakuen Hall commentary that the stamina, the comments made about the fact, can she go the longer distance? They've been addressed. Obviously, we wish Tsukiyama nothing but the best. And obviously, we wish more than anything else that match at First Dream had been able to play out in the way it was, supposed to. But Chika Goto is taking advantage as much as she can of what has happened. And you know what? Right, we've put Tsukiyama in these big tag matches, okay? We've sort of placed her as one of our stars of the future. She's not here. She's injured. Goto, let's see if you can match that. I don't think she's quite on Tsukiyama's level as of yet. However, in terms of charisma, in terms of aura, and in terms of development, because I think as well, just in 2025, there's been a huge improvement in Chika Goto.
Perfectly put, partner. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, she's maximizing not only her minutes, but her seconds. And again, not only in the ring, but curtain to curtain. Obviously the Goto, the Chika Goto thing is massively over. As soon as she cuts the curtain, like she's that aura, as you said, she has it with the crowd. She's able to connect with the audience before she even steps foot in the ring. And you look at this match and you have 3 former champions in here. Obviously, the Dark Wolf Army, former Twinstar tag champions. Natsumi Shizuki was the first ever Superfly champion. And this match is built around Chika Goto. And Chika Goto is the star of this match. You have the heat. Again, obviously, the Dark Wolf Army, there are your clear-cut heels in this promotion. They build the heat around Chika Goto. She does a great job selling and getting and making the hot tag mean even more. Again, because she's so over with the crowd that they're putting heat on her, and then the tag, you're building the sympathy, and then the hot tag goes to the most explosive wrestler not only in this match, but maybe in the entire company, and one in Natsumi Shozuki. She comes in, cleans house. Eventually, the teamwork of the former tag champs takes its toll on Natsumi Shozuki. Then Chika Goto, who had your sympathy on, she comes back in and is able to take advantage of the work that Natsumi did in the match to put away Chiaki in the finish. Not only was it a great match, it was a great storytelling, and it got Chika Goto over in the sympathy, made the hot tag mean even more to Natsumi Shozuki. We know that once Natsumi is in the ring, she's going to deliver because she's fantastic. And then the story of Chika Goto getting the coming uppings in the finish, her getting the win, I thought was a perfect story and a really terrific match. I had this set 3 3/4 stars.
Yeah, definitely a really, really good match. Moving on to to another great match, which was Seri Yamaoka and Meiko Aono and Utami and Victoria Yuzuki. They're teasing us, Matt. They're teasing us with that Meiko Aono and Utami match, aren't they? They just will not pull the trigger, and I love them for that. Really, really making us wait, because that, when they eventually do pull the trigger on it, is going to be a great red belt match, and I can't wait.
Yeah, but before they even teased us out, which we knew we were going to get, the match starts, and I'm like, I already know how this match is going to go. I already know what me and Rob are going to talk about on the Marigold Standard next week. Even before they teased us, Seri Yamaoka and Utami Hayashishita, big lockup. Gotta put it over, buddy. Gotta
the
put
Matt
it over.
Turner lockup. Gotta love it.
Absolutely, but you're absolutely right. Obviously, Victoria Yuzuki was great. She was thrown around like a rag doll from the Super Rookie. I mean, they properly made her look like $1 million. She had great stuff with Utami Hayashishita. Shocker, right? Again, who's Utami not going to make look really good? But you're absolutely right. All those things considered, Utami versus Meiko Aono, they keep giving us a little more and a little more and a little more, to the point where it's like, it's almost at a point where it's just like, maybe I'm feeling greedy, but I want this to be like a 3-match series. Maybe like Utami beats her, and then Meiko Aono builds herself back up, and then they go to TLD, and then they go back again, and because these two just have great chemistry together. And I think Rossi knows what we all know. That's going to be a big money matchup when the time is right. What's one of the many great things of Rossi Ogawa's genius booking is the fact that he knows he has something there, but you have to pull the trigger when the time is right and it's at this hottest, so you get the most out of it and you sell the most amount of tickets. So we know we're going there, Rob, and we know me and you're going to celebrate it once we get there. But all parties were really good. Obviously, Victoria Yuzuki, she's terrific, and again, great chemistry with Utami. So I'm really excited for their Twinstar Championship match. I believe that's Korakuen. Did they make that official for the next Korakuen, Rob?
February 20th, and we might as well jump into it here. The challenge wasn't actually made until the next match, but seeing as both Victoria Yuzuki and Utami are in this, we might as well talk about it here. Now, obviously, that does tie up 2 of the titles for Korakuen, which means that we have had back-to-back Korakuens with no Utami red belt defense. And if you remember, one of the things was that we were looking forward to was that, okay, Utami's on every show. Okay, sorry, as good as she is, she's a freelancer. You know, she's got other commitments. You know, she was about 14 other champions as well. But again, 2 Korakuen Hall shows in 2025, no Utami red belt match. I'm interested to know how you feel about that. But before we get into that, you think about the matches that we've got for Utami. Meiko Aono, Mirai, you know, maybe Nanae before she retires. Natsumi Shozuki, Nagisa Nozaki.
She beat her in the tournament. Yeah.
Now, do you want to burn through those big matches straight away? Because if you burn through those matches straight away, I don't think the rest of the roster is on the level yet to go at Utami, which means that you then have got a bit of an issue in the fact that you haven't got any challengers. Yes, I would have loved an Utami red belt match. And yes, you could argue that maybe of those that I've mentioned, Nagisa Nozaki could go next, but she's just had a white belt match and lost again. So you can't then give her a red belt match on top of that. I understand, and I am a little bit frustrated the fact that we don't get an Utami red belt match in Korakuen Hall, but also I can see why in a way, because again, you know, I don't want to burn through Utami and Mirai. Utami and Mirai needs to be your massive start of the year pay-per-view 2026 match. Top of the card, build that up. And do you know what? I think that Miku Ano beats Utami in the Dream Star and cashes it in at the Korakuen afterwards. I think that's where we get Miku Ano versus Utami. But again, I think until you've really, really developed this roster, because I think Koki Amare would have been right in there with a red belt title shot. But of course, she's injured. Apart from those that I've already mentioned, I would argue that there isn't that many then that you can fall back on. I can't remember if I mentioned Natsumi Shozuki, but she potentially falls in the bracket of someone that you could certainly put in that match. But then I'm looking at the rest of the roster. Now Ishikawa's not there yet. Naho Yamada. I mean, we saw Tank, and for the development that she had in the 7 matches, I don't think that she should have had a shot. Bozilla, you could have Bozilla, but you need to protect her somewhat. You can't have her lose again in a big singles match already. Mai Sakurai's the white belt champ, so you can't really have her. Seri Yamaoka's, I don't think, not ready just yet for a red belt shot. So I can sort of see why this has happened, Matt.
Yeah, you made a really good point, my friend. And you kind of look at the other side of it. It's like, as a business, you want to draw as many tickets as possible. How do you do that? Do you have a champion that is a great wrestler and that is over on the top of your card? Yes, it's Utami Hayashishita. So you look at the Korakuen, I think we once we understood what Marigold is going to be, the mean you both said between 850 and a little over 1,000 is probably what they want to be doing every Korakuen. Well, I think the last one did like 700 and some. So we're gonna find out if this formula with Utami is working or not, if they don't get to that 850 coming up in Korakuen Hall at a month's time. And then it's like, okay, we don't have to hit the panic button just yet. But again, it's Utami. What does she really need to do to build certain people up to get a red belt championship match in Korakuen Hall will draw 900 people? Really not much, because she's Utami and she's fantastic. So do a tag match where maybe Natsumi Shozuki pins her and be like, I want the title shot, or Miko Ano, or Mirai, or Nagisa Nozawa, or Bozilla. Because again, it's just like, well, Natsumi Shozuki, she's had a shot at the white belt, or as you call it, the untitle. So, can she challenge Utami for the red belt? Absolutely. Do a 6-man tag where maybe she beats Victoria Yuzuki on the same team that Utami is. Or again, let her pin Utami in the middle of the ring. Utami is one of the very few wrestlers, not just in Marigold, but in all of wrestling, that can lose a match, but yet make it even more important on the comeback to sell tickets. So there's say that was to happen, and then we're just like, oh my God, we're getting Natsumi versus Utami at Korakuen Hall. We know the belt's not going to change hands, but oh my God, they're going to go 20 minutes and it's going to be great. We'd be excited for it, and it would sell more tickets. So we'll find out what the draw is if they hit that 850 or above. But I think if it's below 850, I think it's something that Rossi may need to take a step back and say, okay, we need to be putting these Utami red belt matches on. It doesn't have to be everyone on Korakuen Hall, and with somebody that's only going to take really 1 or 2 matches to build up properly, because you have a lot of wrestlers, again, that aren't really ready for that solid main event level, but tapped on the shoulder saying, we need you to go in with Utami in Korakuen Hall, sell tickets to make it a great match. There's a lot of wrestlers that are there. So, yeah, really, really interesting. And again, we'll find out in 1 month's time. But again, getting back to this match, this is my favorite match of these 2 shows. This was fantastic. 4.25 stars for me, my friend. And the one thing I liked, again, I like how Seri Yamaoka is just throwing around Victoria Yuzuki. And then Victoria Yuzuki did the Shawn Michaels teardrop suplex that I have not seen in quite some time. And when he first turned heel on Marty Jannetty and broke up the Rockers, that was his finish. That and the pile driver before he adopted the sweet chin music. So I liked how she did that. And again, Seri Yamaoka, who's only had a handful of matches, she's just phenomenal. And the other 3 ladies in this match, again, we wax lyrically about. But no, I see your point. And like I said, I guess we'll find out, because, the fans are going to vote, and they're going to vote with their wallet, my friend.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting number. I personally think that anywhere between 750 and 850, I don't think that's an issue. I think 750, if they were drawing 750 upwards, I think that's fine. Just in line with the other non-special Korakuen Hall shows, if you will. Obviously the Julia leaving one, and the Marigold Feels Forever show aside. just thinking about that match at Korakuen Hall, I wonder if they'll go the full 30, and I wonder, is that where Seri Yamaoka maybe challenges Utami?
Ooh, you think they pull the trigger on that because she's hot right now?
She is hot.
Yeah. So I mean, she's at the same time, you're a rookie, so you pull the trigger on it now because if you wait 6 months, she'll be a better wrestler. But is she going to have that buzz? You know, that
Is
fresh
she going to
new
be as
buzz?
hot? Yeah.
Yeah, that fresh. But I like that. I like that. Or I don't have her pin Utami. That'll be a huge shock because again, who was the last super rookie that Rasi Ogawa promoted? It was 2018 Utami Hayashishita.
Yeah.
So you have his old super rookie that is now the ace of his company, was the ace of his former company for a year and a half, and now is the ace of this company. Have her pin her in the middle of Korakuen Hall, grab the microphone, next Korakuen Hall, Utami Hayashishita, I challenge you for the boom, right there. And again, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. You're right there in Korakuen Hall. Tickets are going to be right on sale. As soon as the show's over, you got to, again, I've never been to Korakuen Hall before, but I'm assuming the box office is right there. Not only that, but you can order tickets on your phone. You've already sold tickets when you're right there. I like that idea, buddy, but I'm going to take it a step further. Yeah, I think that's going to be my crazy prediction. I'm going to say the rookie pins the red belt champion, setting up the March Korakuen for Seri Yamaoka, and don't have her lose. Will again have her. She's undefeated, even though she's only been wrestling 3 months. So what's going to happen? Is she going to become the new champion, or is Utami going to be the first blemish on her perfect record? You can build it up 2 or 3 different ways to really kind of add more sizzle to the steak of what'll be a great match.
Yeah, I mean, obviously your one sort of thought has to be, are you going to expose Seri Yamaoka? You know, being in the main event in this big sort of, this main event scene that she hasn't been in before. Obviously, she's already main evented a Korakuen with Nanae. She's presumably going to main event a second one with Nanae in the same ring as Utami. They're clearly teasing something between Utami and Seri Yamaoka. You look at the challenge and it's Utami and Seri Yamaoka that are nose to nose. And maybe Utami lays out the challenge to Seri and says, do you know what? See what you can do. You want this? Let's go. And I wouldn't be opposed to Utami beating her handily.
Ooh.
And then we revisit it, and Seri Yamaoka does far better than anyone thinks, pushes Utami to the limit. Then we do it again, maybe in the Dream Star. Or maybe, that second one at the Dream Star. Then maybe we go again, it goes to a time limit draw, and that is how we continue that sort of bubbling feud between Utami and Seri Yamaoka. Laying the seeds now. She's not ready for the red belt. We know that. She's very, very talented, but obviously we're not going to say that Seri Yamaoka is going to end the reign of Utami in March. Of course not. But you can still show how special she is, but she's not ready yet. And have Utami prove that to her. Yeah, you're good. You're not my level yet. We saw how Utami can be a bit of a cocky dickhead with Megaton. And she did it really well. So why do we not have her do the same to Seri Yamaoka? And then sort of force Seri Yamaoka to have that first drawback in wrestling. Okay, I've lost in the main event. I've lost the main prize. What do I do next? And that could be your story, because obviously there's a finite run for Seri Yamaoka and Nanae as the Twinstar champions, because, of course, Nanae is retiring in May. So what's the story for Seri following that? Because at the moment it's been about her trying to get Nanae this perfect run before she retires. Post Nanae, trying to topple Utami. Trying to topple Utami in a singles setting. Doesn't even have to be for the red belt if you don't want it to be. Trying to beat her in a singles setting.
Yeah, good point. Again, you talk about Utami's 2018 Super Rookie run. She had a big main event match in Korakuen Hall very early in that run against Mayu in the finals of the 5-star Grand Prix. Yep. And Utami is in basically the Mayu role 2018-2019 here. And Seri is in the Utami role of 2018. Again, copy an A, get an A. But I like that. I like that idea. And again, there's a lot of buzz on her. Strike while the iron's hot. We'll find out. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe they're using this Korakuen Hall to set up for a really big Korakuen Hall in March. So that's a great
I
idea.
agree. And it's funny you should bring that up, actually, just before we move on to the next match, because Utami did an interview recently where she actually said about how Mayu being there as this presence helped her out massively, and that's what Utami wants to be for Marigold. So it makes sense. It makes sense. That's the story you can go with. Right, moving on anyway. Nanae Takahashi versus Misa Matsui. This match was fantastic. They had a passion injection match early in Marigold's run. That was great and arguably the best of the passion injection matches that Nanae has had, certainly in Marigold. But here, I thought they upped it and it was great. And do you know what? We recorded yesterday a alternate commentary where we saw Nanae in Stardom in 2023. I could not tell they were the same person. Just in terms of, we've mentioned it countless times about how Nanae is doing some of her best work in Marigold. She seems happy. And obviously, she's made no secret of the fact that she's struggled with mental health, but she seems happy. She seems, for lack of a better word, passionate. She seems like she is throwing herself into every single match. And, that match with Waka Tsukiyama in 2023 was great, was really good, but there was something missing in Nanae, and it was like she checked out. Here, she couldn't be more present. She was having the time of her life, and she had a wonderful dance partner in Misa Matsui, who I thought was absolutely fantastic again here.
It was like 5-6 minutes in this match. Nanae was like steamrolling Misa. Just really laying in with the kicks, the forearms, the clotheslines, and you're waiting for Misa to make her comeback. And can she come back from this? Again, she's, the speed star. It's a complete, the hard hitting. We really haven't really seen that much from her. Obviously, she's a great technical wrestler. She's great when it comes to those closing finishes. But then all of a sudden she fires up, and Nanae obviously is probably one that put this together, or at least called it. And we're seeing a different side of Misa Matsui, where she can not only take a beating, but then come back and fire up. You see that fire, that fighting spirit from Misa Matsui that we really never seen before. And just great stuff. And she's using her quickness and her explosiveness to get the advantage back on Nanae, and obviously using that explosiveness for her strikes. The drop kicks, that the Bryan Danielson Kenta Basako style knee that she does really, really well. We see it taken to another level. Really great stuff back and forth, to the point where it was like, maybe Nanae is going to put Misa over here. And what a great feather in the cap it would be for Misa to beat Nanae about 4 months before her retirement, because that's the way it was built. And Nanae really did a great job making Misa look like $1 million, especially in that closing stretch. But ultimately, though, it's the sliding D and the Nai rocker that puts Misa away. Again, this was a great match. And even though Misa lost, we saw a completely different version of her, because she had to get down and dirty with one of the hardest hitters in all of Joshi. And she not only survived, but she strived. So again, Misa Matsui is another one that, as far as the mid-card goes, we've been really singing her praises, and maybe somebody that they can start building this company around over the next year or two, and to get really, rally behind her, because she was absolutely terrific here, and it raised her stock even in a loss. I had this one at 4 stars, brother. And as usual, my man, it is now time in Pennsylvania, and because it's winter, where the sun is setting, so I'll be back in 2 seconds. I have to turn on my light.
And we will move on. I gave this 4 stars, by the way. Absolutely loved this match. These two have such a really rich chemistry. Moving on then, your main event saw Mirai Saku versus Bozilla and Megaton. And Matt, we found out after this that the Bozilla and Tank main event for Shin-Kiba was going to be a loser leaves Japan match, which sort of, if we hadn't already guessed who was winning this match, this sort of really did put the sort of the markings on the wall, didn't it? The writing on the wall that Bozilla was walking out of that. But this, I thought, was better than it had any right to be. And again, Megaton really did showcase a way of entertaining the crowd, let's say.
It was entertaining. Yeah, obviously we know that Mirai and Bozilla, they have really great chemistry together. My Sakurai and Bozilla had a really great hidden gem of a match back at their Dreamstar match, which if you remember, Mai Sakurai won via countout, which I will always put over a good countout when she tied up Ozil in the Paradise Lock on the entranceway. So really good stuff there. Obviously, Mirai and Mai Sakurai, the first Twin Star champions, first Twin Star Cup winners of that one-night tag tournament. So we know they're really good. Obviously, Bozilla looks as dominant as she is here, but I liked how the former tag champs have to use tag team wrestling to kind of break her down. And obviously, Megaton comes in, and we mentioned it a little bit ago. She knows how to work her character. She gets her character over. The match didn't go overly too long because obviously you don't want to, you want to accentuate everybody's positives and hide their negatives. And obviously, the show and the match ends with the beautiful STF from the unchampion, the Pure White champion, and one Mai Sakurai. Solid enough match. 3.5 stars for me, my friend. Again, it was a nice, entertaining match.
Yeah, it was fine. It did what it needed to do, which was heat up the match the following night, and gave us a little reminder of just how good Mirai and Mai Sakurai are as a tag team. With that, then, we moved to night 6 of the New Year Golden Garden tour, this emanating from Shin-Kiba First Ring on the 26th of January. In terms of the attendance, the announced attendance was 245, which makes it the highest attendance at the venue since night 3 of the Dreamstar Grand Prix, with this show outdrawing the 215 and 213 of the afternoon and evening double header on the 27th of October, which, if you remember, had Mask Fiesta as a part of it, outdrawing it by almost 14%. So trending upwards in terms of Shin-Kiba attendances for Marigold, which is great. The 10 times Marigold have run the venue makes it the second most run venue, by the way, in their history, behind Corrigan Hall, which they've run 11 times. Shorter card, this one. The results are as follows. Naho Yamada defeated Ryoko Satomura with a rolling pin in 6 minutes and 28 seconds. Tag team match, the Dark Wolf Army of Chiaki and Nagisa Nozaki defeated Nao Ishikawa and Riara. Nagisa Nozaki pinning Riara with the Noir Lancer in 11 minutes and 5 seconds. Singles match, Chika Goto defeated Minami Yuki, again utilizing that wrist clutch Blue Thunder Bomb in 11 minutes and 4 seconds. 6-woman tag, Utami Hayashishita, Mika Wano, and Misa Matsui defeated Mirai, Mai Sakurai, and Victoria Yuzuki. Misa Matsui getting a pinfall victory over Victoria Yuzuki ahead of their town match with the Misa Kawai driver in 15 minutes and 43 seconds. And then in your main event, the loser leaves Japan match to the surprise of nobody. Bozilla defeated Tank with the running sit-out powerbomb in 8 minutes and 16 seconds, banishing her from not only Marigold, but Japan as well. Matt, before we delve into that match, which I'm sure we'll have lots to say about, let's delve into Naho Yamada and Ryoko Satomura. A pinfall victory for Naho Yamada, which seems a rarity, but again, both women did really well here.
What have we been saying for the past month or two on this podcast, Rob Goodwin? Naho Yamada needs to start every show. She needs to start it singing because that is the way to get the crowd going.
Absolutely.
One, again, I don't speak Japanese. I don't know what she's saying, but I'm all about it. And she's great in the ring. You know, you give her these 8 to 10 minute matches, whether singles or tag, it's going to get over. And again, Ryoko Satomura, another great outing. Naho Yamada looked terrific here. Again, not only bell to bell, but curtain to curtain. She's what pro wrestling is all about. Pro wrestling is supposed to be fun, and she accentuates that. She is such a fun wrestler and such a fun character. And again, she's somebody that everybody can get behind. A solid enough outing. Again, I like that rolling cradle that she uses. You know, it can maybe get a surprise win, maybe over some of your, you're not your main event wrestlers, but your mid-card wrestlers in some upcoming matches, maybe in a Corrigan Hall. 3.25 stars for me. Again, solid enough outing. You have Naho Yamada, who again is fairly new in pro wrestling, and Ryoko Satomura is very new. And you go out there, you give them less than 7 minutes. That's what you want to do. You don't want to give them 10, 11 minutes where they're going to, again, you might be giving them too much time, but perfect enough time, great opener. And again, Naho Yamada in the openers singing. I mean, folks, makes me a happy boy.
Absolutely. Some things just go together, don't they? Peanut butter and jelly, Naho Yamada and opening Marigold cards. It just feels right.
Turner and Goodwin, or
Turner and Goodwin.
Goodwin and Turner. Sorry.
Damn right. Know your place, Turner.
Pop me proper.
Tag team match then, Dark Wolf Army, Riara and now Ishikawa. What did you think of this one, Matt?
Yeah, solid enough outing, and I like getting the heels, your heel tag team a win here, because obviously they lost the night before. Again, for reasons, my guess is to get Chika Goto over more. Obviously, now Ishikawa, she's terrific. Riara, again, for the limited, I've seen her. I thought it was good, really good. Easy story to tell. You have your heels bending the rules, getting heat, hot tag. Now obviously now Ishikawa, she was terrific here. The exchanges with her and Nagisa and Ozaki, hard hitting, right up my alley. And just when the time was right, it was time to take this match home at the perfect time. 3.5 stars, and it's nice to see the former tag champs get a win here, because I like to see them get them built back up, because I think Chiaki and Nagisa and Ozaki, their role in this company right now is a solid tag team, either challenging or maybe winning back the Twinstar Championship.
Moving on then to Chika Goto, Minami Yuki against Ryo Saito and Natsumi Shozuki. Matt Turner, opinion on this one?
Again, another really, really good one. Obviously, again, Ryo Saito, she's great, ever improving, like we say each and every show. Again, the American Dragon from Ring of Honor, Ryo Saito, obviously Natsumi Shozuki, she was terrific. A nice outing here from Minami Yuki, obviously looking better on this show than she did against her match in Tank. But again, this is all about building up Chika Goto. That they clearly have plans for her. I don't know if that's to eventually challenge Mai Sakurai for the Pure White Belt Championship, or eventually get that rematch that we all want with a healthy Chika Goto, or healthy Koki Amare. But clearly they have plans in the work for Chika Goto, and I'm super excited about it. And obviously Natsumi Shozuki, no disrespect to the other three ladies, because I think they're great. She's the best wrestler in this match.
Mm-hmm.
And they do a great job making sure that the big parts of the match are built around her. Ultimately, though, it's all about Chika Goto getting a win here. I thought this was terrific. This was really a hidden gem match in between these two really good shows. I actually had it 3 3/4 stars. Again, considering the fact tag match, wrestlers that don't normally tag with each other, really great chemistry with all four ladies. And I would love to see a proper one-on-one match with Goto and Natsumi.
Just realized I completely misread my notes when I was reading out the results. I said this was a singles match. No, it's not.
That's okay, folks. That's everybody makes mistakes. We talked about that earlier, and that's okay. And if anybody's going to tweet at Rob Goodwin, I hope I see you in Vegas.
Yeah, Chika Goto pinned Ryo Saito, not Minami Yuki. If she'd have pinned Minami Yuki, that was an issue since they were teaming.
Oh, man.
I don't know how I've misread my notes, because I've got Ryo Saito in red. So I don't understand.
Chika Goto's just beating everybody.
Goto running wild. So moving on then to the semi-main event, which was, of course, the All-Star 6-woman tag, which saw Utami's team defeat Team Mirai, with Misa Matsui pinning Victoria Yuzuki. This was another really good match. Predictably good match, because this really is Marigold's bread and butter, especially when you've got some combination of these ladies in the ring together.
Yeah, this was terrific. You have your Superfly champion, you have your former tag champs, obviously, and then the other side, you have your red belt champion, you have your first white belt champion, and your next contenders for the Super Flyweight Championship. So, obviously, great stuff with Mirai and Utami. You mentioned earlier that lariat of death. Meiko Ano.
God.
Insane. And again, that's got to be a red belt match coming up, hopefully very, very soon.
That is your main event. That is your main event. If they do, if First Stream is their 3rd of January pay-per-view, that is your match. Come on, that's going to sell tickets. Utami versus Mirai, that is going to sell tickets. That's your main event. Build to it.
You think you're going to wait a full year for that?
I think Mirai wins the Dream Star.
Okay, I'm not going to say no. That I'm all about it, but maybe because we've seen they've had great matches 3 years ago in Stardom, so that's why I don't know if you need a giant build for it. But at the same time, I see your point, buddy. I totally see your point. Obviously, Meiko Ano, Mai Sakurai had a phenomenal Phenomenal match at First Dream earlier this month. Great tag stuff, great single stuff. Where this boils down to, Misa Matsui versus Victoria Yuzuki. And I'm so excited for their match at Korakuen Hall because these two had phenomenal chemistry. Absolutely tore it up. This closing stretch with the two of them might have been the best I've seen Misa and might have been the best I've seen Victoria Yuzuki. I would not be shocked if that after we reviewed this Korakuen Hall show, I said that's the best performance from Misa and that's the best performance from Victoria Yuzuki, which is saying a lot considering the fact that we've only, obviously Yuzuki's only wrestling a little over a year. We've only been covering Misa since the start of the Marigold, but they've had some great matches. Again, Utami plays her role really well. Meiko Ano, she's fantastic here. Again, obviously Mirai, Mai Sakurai, they're terrific. But ultimately, it boils down to Misa and Victoria Yuzuki, and the fact that Misa used not one, not two, but three Misa Kawaii drivers to put away the champion, I thought was perfect. And it just went to show, as I mentioned in her match with Nanae, how much more vicious she is, how much more, dominant that she wants to be, because it was three of them back to back to back. Again, that statement, that exclamation point that she got on that match with Nanae the night before. Perfect psychology. My second favorite match of these two shows. Another fantastic wrestling. And folks, for some reason, if you listen to this podcast and you haven't seen this match, hit the pause button, go and watch this, because this is what pro wrestling is supposed to be. Hard hitting, pure, great wrestling from 6 phenomenal athletes.
And don't forget, Matt, you'd have to wait till Korakuen to see Misa Matsui and Victoria Yuzuki. They are wrestling on the 7th in Shinjuku Face.
Oh, I thought that was in Korakuen. That match is for. I apologize, and that's the main event of that show. So that is.
It is. So you haven't got long to wait, mate.
No, look at that, man. We got great wrestling coming up all the time, and the fact we get to talk about it and then just do terrible jokes with each other, my friend. Just how much better can life be? Who's got it better than us?
Exactly. Moving on, then, obviously, the loser leaves Japan match. Bozilla versus Tank. This was initially just a singles match. Was made a loser leaves Japan match with Megaton on special guest announcing. Did a phenomenal job. Genuinely found her very funny. As did Bozilla, who during her ring entrance was doing her best to look imposing and was just creasing at Megaton doing her entrance. Now, Tank. I know that there are a lot of people who have focused on the negatives of Tank, and I will get this out of the way. She is green, undoubtedly, but she is still quite young into her career. Do I think she should have had a red belt match? No, I don't. However, I think it's certainly fair to say that even though she's only had 7 matches in Marigold, there is a lot of development there. I think if you compare the tag team match with Bozilla, Tank, Chiaki, Nagisa Nozaki, and then you compare it to Tank's work here, for a start, the crowd loved it. The crowd were really, really into this match. Really into Tank being able to suplex Bozilla. We weren't expecting a Mac Classic, were we? We weren't expecting catch as catch can. We were expecting a bit of a brawl. And I think these two did well. I think I think people anticipated it being a bit slow, a bit lethargic, and honestly, it surpassed my expectations. Will people speak highly of Tank's run in Marigold? Possibly not, but what I will say, and one definite positive, is that she has improved. There's definite improvement there, and if she goes away, continues to improve, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing her come back.
But she lost the stipulation match. That loser leaves Japan, so she can never return, Rob. I mean,
doesn't say she's got to leave forever, just says she has to leave now.
Oh, that's what it was. She has to leave now, Ishikawa?
There you go. That's what she has to leave now, Ishikawa behind.
Alone. Maybe that's how they bring her back. She had to leave now, but I'm back with now Ishikawa. And then there's the Tank Ishikawa tag team. The booking of Tank, they really burned through her really quick. It was like first match.
They really did, yeah. They really did. Proper condensed, wasn't it?
First match, she wins the championship, and on the same show, post-match, challenges Utami, the great Utami, loses to Utami, loses the tag champions, chip, and then loser leaves Japan match. It's like, I think it's one that we'll remember just because of how fast it went, and you're absolutely right. She's improved so much in such a short time that it's like, I don't, I obviously there's probably backstage stuff, whether she had a limited time on visa, maybe she only had a visa for a month, or she had other bookings that she had to, attend to. But it was like, I would have loved to have seen her Marigold even more, because she would have just continued to really get better. And I'm all about just not only just wrestlers improving, just people improving in general. And this was a great stage for her to improve. Yeah, this match was it was exactly what we knew it was going to be. The bell rang. It was hard hitting. They did the old bar fight spot in the crowd that we saw Bozilla do with Nanae, that we've seen deathmatch wrestlers do with certain weapons, from in Cork and Hall and certain independents over here in the States. So I thought that was really cool. And they went back in the ring. They hit each other really hard, and then Bozilla put her away with a Liger bomb. Easy story to tell. Again, it's really crazy how fast they burn through Tank, but again, they did get a lot out of her. It's just like, hey, we only have her for a month. Here's what we're going to do. She's very imposing, probably physically the biggest and maybe the strongest person on the roster. But yeah, again, solid enough outing. You're absolutely right. This wasn't going to be a Malenko Guerrero classic by any stretch of the imagination, and nor needed be. It was just, very much like if you see a heavyweight fight in boxing or MMA, it's just like, once the bell rings, they're going to go hard. It's not going to go too long. And ultimately, Bozil, like I said, gets the win. 3.5 stars for me, my friend.
Yeah, look, it's probably not a match that's going to touch many people's top 10, certainly. But again, I went into it with expectations, and this surpassed it. And that's all I can ask. And again, what do we say? Is it over with the live crowd? Hell yeah, it was over with a live crowd. Bozilla doing the dive off the apron. Crowd absolutely ate that up. Again, Tank being able to suplex cleanly as well, Bozilla, getting it up and over. Really, really impressive. The powerbomb finish, really, really impressive. The crowd ate up the feats of strength. Completely different to other main events that we've seen and main events that we perhaps expect of Marigold. But again, they did what they needed to do, didn't overstay its welcome. There are positives to be had here, certainly. Anyway, that is the show, because that show was really short. It proper flew by, considering only one match went above 15 minutes. And really, I don't think anything else went above 11. So it really did fly by. This was live on Wrestle Universe. Obviously, we'll be back next week to talk about the shows from the 7th and the 11th. Well, just the 7th, actually, looking at the actual dates, because the 7th is next Friday. So we haven't got another Marigold show till Friday. That is a long, long break. Hopefully everyone can recuperate and sort of take some well-earned R&R time. I think that goes without saying. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed those shows. Before we go anywhere, though, Mr. Matt Turner, before we go anywhere, we need to take one gaze, just one, and that gaze is at Julia.
It'll be a quick gaze, good sir, because as we're recording this, it is Tuesday, and there's a big Julia match tonight. Obviously, I don't live in the future. I drive a Ford, not a DeLorean, so I'm not from the future, good sir.
Damn it.
But I know. But regardless, so what happened on NXT last week is there was obviously we were building somewhere, maybe Royal Rumble, to a big Bayley versus Roxanne Perez program, which I am all for. So I think that's going to happen at WrestleMania, and I hope it does, because those two are great. So Roxanne Perez not done just yet when NXT. Bayley coming back to NXT. They set up a tag match, again, happening tonight as of this recording, as Roxanne Perez teams with her best friend Cora Jade to take on the unlikely duo of Bayley and Julia. So I'm really looking forward to watching that match either tonight or tomorrow when I have time. So that's all that happened. As always, thanks to my man, Darren Chatton, for telling me what was going on. And he also did tell me, yes, Darren, he also did tell me that the Julia segment had highest rated quarter hour of NXT.
Yeah, I remember you saying.
We're top like 800,000 viewers. So just over three-fourths of a million people watching the beautiful madness, the former World of Stardom champion one Julia. So Julia is obviously a huge ratings draw and merchandise drawer too, because I think her shirt is the biggest seller on NXT merchandise. So hopefully an action figure will be coming soon, because those EO pops will be coming in 2 months' time, buddy. I'm not gonna lie, I pre-ordered not one but two of them. Yeah, there you go. For all you
Pride
watching
of
on
place,
YouTube.
my friend.
Yeah,
Pride of place.
I will be putting it right next to my Ricky the Dragon Steamboat Funko Pop. So
Nice. Ladies and gentlemen, that does just about wrap it up for us here on the Marigold Standard. Thank you so much for joining us. It is worth noting that I don't know when the next episode of the Marigold Standard is going to air, simply because the next show is until Friday. So, hey, we'll let you know on the old social media when that is going to be. But in the meantime, thank you so much for tuning in to this show. We thoroughly appreciate every single one of you, and all of the support that you have given us. Again, if you haven't already, you can subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We are literally everywhere. We're like pigeons. We are physically everywhere. If you haven't already, subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/the Stardom Cast. We can get all of these episodes early and ad-free for as little as $1 solitary a month. That's all. 25 cents a week. That's it. Thank you to all of our patrons. By the way, you guys are absolutely awesome. If you haven't already, check out the website, talkjoshi.com, for all of the news, show reviews, show previews, history, Stardom statistics, Marigold statistics, all of that good stuff. You can find us on social media at Marigold Podcast, unless, of course, you are on Instagram or Threads or Blue Sky, in which case find Talk Joshi. You can find me on Twitter at Real Rob Goodwin. Mr. Turner, sign us off, good sir.
folks, questions, comments, suggestions, a general chat, anything you need from me, Matt Turner OF, on the Instagram, on the Twitter, and the Blue Sky. If you want to shoot me an email, that's perfectly fine. The email address is Rob Goodwin. Are you ready? The email address is the StardomCast22 at gmail.com. Folks, that's going to wrap it up for another fun-filled episode of the Marigold Standard. We greatly appreciate your support. Can't do it without you, because like I always say, it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast. Because we're all together. Everybody's different. Everybody's special.